Hi friends, welcome to Law Chat with Girja. I'm Girja Bhargav Patel, your host for Law Chat, and I am so excited for you to join us today. I have some amazing guests on Law Chat, and they're here to share their experiences and entrepreneurial journey with us, and through their storytelling, mentorship with us, because that is the whole point. We are all entrepreneurs and we're all on a journey, and learning from one another is the best way for us to move forward in our journey as well. And I have amazing guests who are so willing and ready to share their stories with us, their challenges and their victories and their achievements, and also their mindset. I just can't wait to share that with you, and I also just can't wait to have that conversation with them. It's such a privilege to have each and every one of them here with us today, and also it's such a privilege to have you listening in and tuning in. So let's dive in to Law Chat with Girja.
Hi friends, welcome to Law Chat. On today's episode, I have a very special guest. She is a tech guru, and I could definitely take some lessons from her because I'm absolutely a novice when it comes to tech. But she's a person who is helping others overcome their fears of tech and actually embrace it and DIY it themselves. So it's not one of the hurdles for them to succeed as an entrepreneur. She is so amazing at what she does, and I want to welcome Shannon Mattern to our show today. And she's also a podcast host for Pep Talk for Side Hustlers. And she's also running a very successful virtual summit, which I'm actually participating in. And I'm hoping maybe this episode will go live before then, and we can kind of plug in where to sign up for it as well. But welcome to the show, Shannon. Thank you so much for being with us here today. And I just truly appreciate your being here and sharing your journey with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah. So, I was telling, as we were talking about earlier, Law Chat is mentorship through storytelling. And I know that you're like, I'm an open book. And I love that. I love that you are an open book because I feel like, from what I've heard in the past from you while I've sat in some other conferences and you've been a speaker, or just, through your website and the way you share your information, you are very open about every aspect of your business, especially the finances, which I think is so cool because a lot of times people shy away from that. So before we go into all of that, tell me, how did you start? Where did this journey begin for you? And how it led you to the mindset that you have today and the services you're providing today?
Thank you so much for asking me that, because I think it's one of my favorite stories to tell, because I think I'm like a lot of people probably listening to this podcast where, I went the traditional path. I was like the straight A high school person because I needed to get, money together, like scholarships to be able to afford college. I was like, the path to success that has been laid out for me is get good grades, go to college, graduate, get the good paying corporate job with a retirement plan and benefits and, security and, stability. And that's like the big goal that we, go for in life. And that's the path I went on until one day I found myself. I was in a leadership role at my day job. I was like 35 years old, and I was just sitting in my office having a panic attack, thinking, I cannot do this for the rest of my life. I've reached the point of which they said I should be, and I should be happy. And I am the farthest thing from fulfilled with what this job is. And I felt like I was making no impact on the world. And it was just like Groundhog Day, just showing up, doing the same thing over and over. And so it was around that time where I was like, well, what do I love about my job? And I was like, I love, the technical marketing side and all of that stuff that I get to do. So I just decided one day to, one of my vendors at my job was like, hey, who built your website for the company? I was like, oh, I did. And he was like, well, do you want to do some side work? And I was like, okay. So I started doing that for him. And then I told a friend that oh, this guy hired me to do his website. And they're like, oh my gosh, I need one too. And it just kind of snowballed from there. So that was really kind of what gave me the taste of oh wait, I don't need somebody else to give me a paycheck. I have this skill that I can take and make money from.
Mm-hmm.
But I was horrible at it at the beginning. I didn't charge enough. Like I had no idea how to like manage clients, like none of that. So after like trying to balance a full-time job and having no idea how to set boundaries with clients or to charge appropriately, I was like, this web design thing, it's not working out. But WordPress is so easy. I can just teach them how to do it themselves and then they can do it and then I don't have to do it for them. And it's like a win-win. So that's when I created my free 5-day website challenge, my WordPress training that teaches service providers, entrepreneurs how to build their website, decided to give it away for free. So, and I make money off of affiliate commissions off the back end of that when people buy like hosting and all of that stuff. And then I built this thing and I'm like, well, I got to figure out how to get people to it. So that kind of like started the journey of like figuring out how to market it and finding this whole world of online entrepreneurship that existed that I didn't even really know existed, and led me to all the opportunities where like I met you at the Thrive conference, and here we are 6 years later, and I just shared my journey all along the way because I'm like, I wish someone else would have like shown me the way.
Right. So just kind of rewinding a little bit and going back to when you were sitting in your office and your day job. So what were some of the things that led up to those feelings of I'm done, of burnout, or I need to change something? And because I feel like that's very common actually. And sometimes people just don't have the courage to take that bold step. So what were some of the things that led up to it, and maybe like signs or just something where you're like, yes, I got to make this change? And then what was the mindset that helped you make that change?
Yeah. So I think some of the things that led up to it were, I had always thought this was a steady, secure paycheck. Like as long as I am the straight A student at my job, I'm secure. They can't fire me. I follow the rules. I do everything they say. Well, then there was just like a change in the law in the state where I live in that would have affected, their ability to like generate an income. It was a nonprofit. There were certain like, state laws that governed our funding that changed. And it was like pandemonium, panic all around this organization. And, that kind of revealed to me like, oh, wait, it really doesn't matter how good I am at my job. It could go away at any moment. And therefore, is this what I really want to be doing? So there was a lot of that. There was a lot of being kind of fiercely independent. And I thought that putting all of that into being great at my job would be like my safety net. But what I realized was like, putting all of that into building a business that can weather global pandemics, like just all kinds of different things was really like was truly my safety net. And so it took me 3 years to really develop the business to the point where it was making enough money, to develop my mindset to the point where I was, confident enough to like take the leap from this job. And also like I felt guilty. I was like, I make good money. I have good benefits. I should be happy with what I have. Am I really going to walk away from all of this? And I had to navigate all of those feelings. But ultimately, at the end of the day, 3 years later, I had I was making 6 figures at my day job. I built my business up to 6 figures. And I'm like, if not now, I can't, I will burn myself out trying to do these 2 things. So something's got to give. And I'm following what I know is a sure thing, which is me.
Right. And I love that you're sharing those 3 years, because sometimes when we hear somebody else's story, we're like thinking it literally happened overnight. The next day they give their like, I'm leaving. And, and it's not like that. Like, it's definitely not like that. And there definitely has to be some evaluation that goes into it. There definitely has to be some assessment that goes into it, and also a plan. There has to be some plan, whether you write a business plan or whether just a little like checklist of what you need to achieve. But I like that you basically said that you were earning as much on your side hustle as you were where you were working before you made that leap. And then by the time the 3 years ended, was your mindset also rid of the guilt? Was it rid of all the things that were inhibiting you and holding you back?
Yeah, because I think over that 3 year journey, I I had realized, and it still took me a while after leaving, but I had realized like, it's not just all about me making money to support me. Like it started out that way. It started out as I was making money to support me at this day job. Now I'm going to offer these other services to support me. But then as the business grew and I started getting emails from people who had DIY'd their website and went on to quit their day job, or someone like signed their son up for my program and he used it as a project to get into college. And just these stories that I would hear from people, I'm like, oh, this was that thing that I was missing from my day job, is like the fulfillment of like this thing that I'm doing and what it allows other people to do, that made it like, oh, so it's not just about like my fulfillment and I should be happy with what I have. It's like there's more to it than my own personal financial situation.
Right. And I feel like that was serving your community, finding out all these like victory stories from your own clients or people who use the 5-day challenge.
Yep.
That's actually, and I love that one of your clients, they used it for their son. And I'm actually literally telling my daughter to use it too, because she was wanting to build a website.
Yeah.
She was using Wix. I'm like, no, we can't use that. We need to use something else.
Everyone send your kids to me. Like I can teach anyone from like 10 to 100 with the same training.
Can I tell you on a sidebar, it is like next level, I think, for kids now to get into college, and website development is not even part of the equation, because it's going to be so easy by the time, like I say it so loosely too, by the way, it's not easy at all. But it's like what you are offering to everybody is an education that is so highly required right now in the younger generation.
Yes.
And it is so cool that you're offering that. And so what made you, I know you were saying that, you were having client boundary issues and things like that. So all the growing pains of a business. And so if we can kind of talk a little bit about those growing pains, what were those growing pains and how did you, I know, like you said that you just kind of shifted your model, but how did you overcome it otherwise as well?
I had an employee mindset, right? Like my client is my boss and they ask me to do something and I figure out how to do it no matter what, And so that's the mindset that I had. And I didn't really know that there was another way. And so, like I said, because I could not, I was a people pleasing, say yes person, because it was easier for me to say yes and do the thing than it was for me to have the conversation with them about not doing it. So it was very self-preservationist, I guess, to avoid the conflict of, because I hadn't set any boundaries up front and I really had no idea how to do that. And so I, starting the 5-day challenge was like saving myself from all of that. But I am so grateful that I had a business coach come through that 5-day challenge and then ask me, to do her website for her. And I said, I don't work with clients anymore. And she asked me why. And I explained to her the issues. And she's like, I would love to coach you on setting boundaries and different things because, you could add that back into your business and quit your day job faster. And I was like, okay, I see what you're saying. Like, now we're stepping into the the business journey is a personal development journey that I didn't know that I needed to go on, which was learning how to set boundaries, how to say no, how to hold my value, how to value, skills that I learned for free. I did not go to school for web design. I was self-taught over all of my career. And so I was like, well, if I learned for free, it would be as if you went to law school, if you just learned the law online and learned it for free. And then you're like, I can't charge people for this because I didn't pay for it. Like, that's the mindset that I had, that like the 15 years I spent learning was worth nothing, which is so not true.
No, it's not.
And because I didn't pay someone to learn it. And so she really helped me figure out how to establish those boundaries. And I did start offering one-on-one web design services. And that was like, I had a hybrid business model at that point. I was doing the free training and then I was offering services, and I was defining the relationship up front. Imagine that, like with my contracts, imagine that, like all of the things that someone who probably knows how to run a business would have maybe done up front. But it kind of took me a while to realize that, like, I had some personal things to work on to grow into the person who could set boundaries.
And for shifting from an employee mindset to a what mindset?
To an entrepreneur, to a business owner, to a
CEO mindset.
To a CEO, just even to a woman who's allowed to say no.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like all of those things.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think what you're actually, Shannon, the things that you went through, most people go through that, even if they've gone to business school, even if they've done all of that, even if they learned how to make a stupid business plan, like they still go through those, because I feel like that's where the refinement comes.
Yeah.
Being a CEO of a company where you are an employed CEO is different than being a CEO of your own business. Not to undermine anybody's value or the amount of work that goes into it, but running your own business is next level, because you're not just CEO. You're paying your tiers, your money, everything just pours into it. So I feel like, putting the contract later or doing all this stuff is very common. It's actually not an uncommon thing. And a lot of people figure it out as they go. And so it's actually really nice to hear that, because it's true. It's very, very common.
I hate to interrupt this awesome conversation, but I have to stop and talk with you about the number one thing I'm asked about by entrepreneurs: contracts. They're vital to any business relationship and to protect your business. But I also know that entrepreneurs, especially when you're starting up, money is tight. But I would never want you to compromise on a strong legal foundation. So enter yourcontractbuddy.com, a website created by me with contract templates created and drafted by me and fellow industry partners. They're ready to use and easy to plug in immediately. And they are not restricted to any specific state. So yourcontractbuddy.com is sponsoring this episode, and you and your listener can get 10% off right now with code LAWCHAT. Yes, you heard me right. 10% off right now with code LAWCHAT. And now back to our awesome conversation.
And also another thing is, like, you got a business coach. And, I think in that entrepreneur's journey, they figure that out, not in the beginning. No one hires a business coach in the beginning. No one hires a coach for anything in the beginning, generally, right? Like, it just kind of very organically pops into your life.
I didn't even know it was an option. I didn't know it was a thing. Yeah. I didn't know it was something that people did, that there were business coaches. I was flying blind in the beginning. And then, I also had this thing where it's like, I can figure this out on my own. I'm smart. The internet has all the answers at my fingertips. Look at all these experts giving all this information away for free. I'm techie. I can reverse engineer this stuff. I don't need help. And really what that was masking was, like, if I invest in this and it doesn't work out, then I have failed and I've lost something. That's what I would think. So I would withhold paying money for the right kind of help, because if I didn't get the results or whatever, then I didn't lose, because I put nothing in, right? But every free moment of time that I had, I was not considering that as an investment, right? My time, my emotions, like all of that stuff.
Oh gosh, you just literally hit on such an important thing, because it's so true. A lot of times we measure success on the metrics of how much money we made out of something.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm totally guilty of that this past year as well. And it's not that. It's the investment of your energy, your emotional energy, your physical energy. That is also costs. Opportunity cost, all of that. And then also wasting your time. Wasting your time on things you're just not good at.
Yes. Yeah. And so finally, I did invest in a business coach early on. And then that, like, I slowly increased what I was willing to put in. And then, like, I got to this point where I realized, like, online courses are great. Don't get me wrong. I offer them, but there comes a point at which, like, I needed eyeballs on my specific business. Like I needed
Mm-hmm.
someone to like look at my business, my goals, me, my personality, my strengths, my weaknesses, and like help me, not just teach me something, but like help
Mm-hmm.
me. And that is when I was like, that was probably one of the biggest investments that I made in my business. But like, I was changed. I was a changed person after like parting with quote unquote that much money, which I think it was like $5,000 at the time, which now it seems like such a deal for what I got. But at the time, it seemed like such a stretch. But I was like, I know without a shadow of a doubt that when I part with this $5,000, that I will do every single thing that they tell me, no matter what. I know I'm all in. I believe in myself. I wasn't putting the belief in them to give
Mm-hmm.
them the money that they would solve all my problems. I had the utmost belief in me that I would implement everything. And so it was just a whole different mindset than when I was like new. And this was
Mm-hmm.
just like 2 years ago that I was like, that I had this shift. And now I'm like, every time I make a big investment in like coaching or something, like it pays off so fast that I'm just like, why did I ever withhold this from myself?
Right? Yeah. I think that's true because the investment in personal development just helps you grow into whoever you're striving to be or like you're
Yeah.
achieving to be. And I think that's so true. But what I think is even more true is having the belief in yourself. Because at the end of the day, I think coaching, people don't realize that with coaching, you have to do the work. They
Yes.
can guide you and show you the way, but you have to be the person doing the legwork to get it done.
Yep. It's not like they're a virtual assistant or anything. They're not
No.
going to like do any of the work for you. You have to be like the one willing to show up for
Yeah.
yourself. And it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Right, exactly. And so as you were, as you're growing and you're getting the coaching, what are the other pivots that you made after you shifted from one-on-one to DIY to hybrid? And then now what are the other shifts that you made after that?
Oh, that's such a good question. So I did the like hybrid DIY. That 50% of my business was basically like 25% affiliate commissions, 25% course sales. So that's kind of like that half of my business. The other half was one-on-one web design work. I think it was like in September of 2019 after I had quit my day job January 2nd of 2018. So I guess this is what, like 3 full years now
Wow. Yeah.
on my own, which is crazy. So that whole first year, it was like 50-50 one-on-one web design. By about September of 2019, I was like, these one-on-one clients are actually like cramping, like preventing the potential of the growth of the courses and training side of my business. So the time that I was spending, the beautiful thing was like I had those processes dialed in. I was like working with my dream clients. I had the boundaries all set. I was like, I finally, about halfway through 2019, love this web design business so much. Like I did it. I got it working. It's amazing. And now I have this decision to make. Like I want the bigger impact, right? So I can only help so many people building their website. But I can teach other web designers how to run a web design business well, which I had started mentoring other web designers. And I can teach DIYers how to DIY so that they can get to that point where they're ready to hire for like phase 2 of, growing their business. And so I made the really difficult decision. It almost felt like quitting my day job again, of sunsetting the one-on-one client work and going all in on my courses and training, because I had that mindset like, one-on-one client work is so secure. Like it's big chunks of money coming in all the time. And I'm just like, I went through that like emotional, like, thing of like being a little scared. Like, what if it doesn't work out? And I'm like, if it doesn't work out, I can just always take on another client. Duh, like go for it,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I made that big pivot in 2019, stopped working with one-on-one clients, went all in on my DIY courses. I started teaching those DIYers. They're like, okay, great. I have a website. How do I get traffic now? So I started teaching them like organic, non-ad, non-SEO, like build relationships with real people who serve the audience that you serve and add value to them. And that's how you can get clients and grow a business. You don't have to like pay for ads or write 1,000 SEO optimized blog posts or entertain people on social media all day. You could just like connect with people. So I started teaching them how to like authentically get traffic to their website, and then also teaching web designers who were struggling just like me how to like turn into like the Shannon that I was when I first started, and like the one that I was when I ended up at the pinnacle of loving my web design business. So that's really the pivot that I made in 2019. And then all of 2020 was just like, let me build as many relationships with as many people as I possibly can to just grow my exposure for all of the things that I do. And honestly, that has been like the most rewarding thing ever. It's just all of the people that I've met along the way with the podcast. Like having a podcast, as I'm sure you know, is like the most fun thing because you just get to like talk to somebody for an hour about whatever you want.
Yeah.
And there's so many opportunities in there.
I learned so much. Like even sitting here with you, I'm just like, I'm so inspired to like literally go for your 5-day challenge also. Because I mean, this is an area of where I want to actually cultivate a little bit this year. So
yeah.
But when you were, and I want to talk about 2020 as well with you, but before we go there, in 2019, when you did, do a sunset on your one-on-one, I know that you kind of went through you shared with us a process of why you did it, but what are some triggering events or feelings that happen which kind of solidify that decision? Because a lot of times we're at the cusp of those decisions. And I think a lot of people right now are also at the cusp of the decision post 2020 of pivoting, and pivoting meaning like shifting, complete shift in your business. So what are some triggering events, and also something that makes you feel like, yes, this is the right decision? Like, what is that in your world?
Yeah, I think one of the things was how much I was working again. Like I had ramped up to basically working like 2 full-time jobs again, like one side running the, DIY, because, when you have a digital product, basically, which is what I have, but it's a course, there's a lot of marketing involved. There's a lot of, that's what you spend your time doing. You make the product once, but then you spend all of your time marketing it, promoting it, all of that stuff. So I was spending all my time doing that. But then like on the side of that, outside of that, I was doing the one-on-one client work. And so I was working crazy hours, not taking good care of myself, not focusing on my health. Like one of the reasons I wanted, like I talked myself into like, being my own boss so I could have time to like get healthy and lose weight and stay like all of this stuff. And I wasn't doing any of that. I was like, I just started this business and I'm literally doing none of the personal things I said I wanted to do. Take time off for vacations. And I worked constantly. And so I think that was one of the moments where I was just like, I can't keep doing both of these things well and be not burnt out and do all of the things that I say I want to do when I'm not an employee, right? Like I was like, freedom is one of my values. I don't want to have to ask for time off. And yet I created a situation for myself where I was always booked out, like always booked out. So I think that was one of the big things too, where I was like looking at, okay, I'm spending X amount of time on my scalable offers, where I do the same amount of marketing, but the more and more people I get in the door, the more money I make. If I took the time I was spending on one-on-one web design business and just didn't do that anymore, I'd have a ton of free time back, and then added a little bit more, like, look what I could possibly do. So that's really what the catalyst was for making that decision. And it's just, I get so much fulfillment out of my work, but I also want to make time for things beyond that.
Absolutely. I think self-care is so important, and totally guilty of not doing everything that I would want to do for self-care as well.
Yep.
But like just this morning I posted like, what's your absolute must every morning? What I mean is like self-care. And so, I feel like at least one thing if we can do for ourselves in the day, if not more, then that's a win. But yes, I think definitely that needs to be part of the equation when you're trying to grow or minimize as well, or like pause. So in 2020 though, was a hard year for some. It became a blessing in disguise for some as well. So how did you, I know you were talking about that you really connected with your community and cultivated with your community. So my word for 2021 is cultivation. And so I'd love to find out what were some of the ways you cultivated your community and some of the tips on that, on how to do that.
Yeah, so I think I was so fortunate that I had a coach, a coach in my own business at the time, who, when everything happened with 2020, and it was like, is it even okay to market right now? Is it okay? Like, while this pandemic is very serious, and just the racial justice issues that happened last year and all the things that happened, like, is it okay to market right now? And, like, I thought about it, because I was just like, I could pull back right now and I could say, you know what? No, it's not okay. People aren't going to care about this. They're not going to care about what I do. I should just like pull back. Or I could like help them understand why now more than ever this is important, and that's really what I truly felt inside, is that now more than ever, helping you understand that you actually can create your own agency, like not agency as like a form of business, but like your ability to, you know, be in control of your life and your business and your finances and all of that. And if that is something that you are interested in, I am here for you 1,000%. And so that's what I wanted my community to know during that time. And so I made a very deliberate decision not to pull back, and to really like pour into them and make sure that they had everything that they need. If they felt like now's the time to make a pivot, I'm here for you. If now is the time for you to pull back, I'll be here when you're ready to come back. Like that was what, I set the intention for 2020. And then like part of that was, I want to build relationships with as many people as possible who serve my ideal client in a different way, because we can add value to each other. I have an audience of people who need, legal advice for small businesses, and your audience probably needs to understand tech. Like it is a perfect relationship for us to get to know each other and figure out how we can add value to each other's audiences. And I just find that so much more fulfilling than sitting behind my computer by myself writing blog posts and searching for keywords personally.
Right.
So I felt like it was just how I could feel like I was in control last year. When so many things felt out of control.
Yeah.
What I felt like I could control was how I showed up for my community and how I could build relationships and just elevate people that I met and knew and respected. And that just felt like I can't stop the COVID virus from spreading, and I can't like change people's opinions about social issues overnight, but I can't get everyone to agree with me. But what I can do is like this is what I have to offer, and that's what I'm going to offer.
Right. I love that. And how did you show up for your community? Not with like other people or in the different industries and building those relationships, but how did you show up for your community? Did you get on Insta stories, Instagram, Facebook? Like, how do you show up?
I do not do a whole lot of social media. It's just not it's not like my favorite place to be. I don't like necessarily love posting or stories. I always joke, I'm like a grandma. I'm like, how does stories work? Like, I don't understand. But I do, like, my audience connects with me through my podcast and through email. And so that's what I have, that's how they know they can engage with me. That's what I've trained them to do. That's what I love to do. And so I wrote like over, I think it was probably halfway through March and April, I wrote a series basically of cheerleader emails. Like, this is why what you do is still important. And, this is just kind of like how I was feeling about like, we can't control all these other things outside of us, but here's what we can control. And I was just kind of like helping inspire them that like whatever they were feeling, like they can still move forward with their plans. They don't have to stop. They can still have an impact. And so I showed up with my podcast that way. I showed up in their inbox that way. And then after that, it was like, hey, I'm here. It's like not business as usual. Like we're going to like, pay attention to what's happening in the world. But, you know, I'm still going to continue to serve you. And that's really how I showed up for them.
I love that. So I actually like built last year. That was like me building last year, but not relationships or stuff, but it's more like businesses. And then this year is about cultivation.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important because that organic cultivation is what brings the true authentic person out also, and also creates more authentic relationships as well, I think.
Yeah, and I think it gives you more flexibility too. You know, I built a relationship with someone who like has a multi-million-dollar business. And she was like, how do you do this without ads? She was like, the moment I stopped spending money on ads, like I stopped making money. And so she felt very trapped by Facebook ads. And like when the algorithm would change and she would lose money, it was like this constant, like staying one step ahead. And like, you know, yes, you're making all that money, but you're pouring so much back in. And I'm not saying that there's like anything wrong with that model, but she specifically was like, can you teach me, come in and like do a webinar for me and my students on like how you market yourself without ads? And I'm like, yes, because we need to be platform independent. And I wholeheartedly believe that our marketing needs to be platform independent. We need to know how to do that so that we're not, you know, we know like things are changing so rapidly in the social media landscape for better or for worse. And, you know, one platform that's popular today could be the pariah tomorrow. And so if you put all your eggs in one basket, it's a risk. And so I want to teach people like, you do not have to rely on all of these things to do business, which is interesting coming from the person that teaches you the tech. But
I think your tech is different though. I think, you know, your tech is not like, hey, how do you do an Insta story or how do you do reels? But it's basically more of how do you build a business online? Because essentially that is the window to your business is your website. So your tech is on a whole nother level, in my opinion. But I completely agree with you wholeheartedly about not putting so much reliance on social media platforms, because at the end of the day, you don't own it at all. And they can literally take away your account and you're done. And all your pictures are gone, everything is gone. And so all the content that you put out there is gone as well. So what you really own is your email list and your website. And so those are the things that I think need to be really cultivated as well. And that's one of the most brilliant things is that you do teach that. And I think I would love to also, if you have a webinar, do you have a webinar on how to grow your community without, you know, paid advertising and all? Okay, I'm gonna link all of that in the show notes.
Awesome. Yes, I will get you a link for that you can link everybody up to that. It's just a webinar that I have called How to Market Yourself Online Without Ads, Algorithms, or Entertaining People on Social Media All Day.
Yeah,
which all of those things are like things you can do, but like know the foundational stuff, you know, as well, just in case. Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I feel like tech, not social media tech, but like website tech and like sending emails out and managing all of that is so essential to a business. Just like law, just like finance. And I also feel like a lot of people fear it. And so I love how you've created something where you created this, you know, 5-day challenge and essentially education for people to overcome that fear and make it easier for them. How did you, I know that you were saying this is how it evolved into because you were just tired of the one-on-one, but how did you come up with this idea? Like, this is it. This is going to be my niche.
So I feel like it was kind of born out of I don't necessarily, you as the entrepreneur don't necessarily care what the difference is between a widget and a post, and like all of the other trainings out there start with like, let me explain to you all of the boring things that WordPress does and its terminology. And like, they start there and I'm like, how about let's start with the end result you want is, you know, a website that can capture email addresses so that you can run the business that you want. And that's how I start my training. There are people that want to learn more about WordPress and the difference between a widget and a post and like all themes and plugins and all of that stuff. Fine. But I don't actually teach that to that granular. I'm like, you are going to, by the end of this, have a website that you can use to run your business. And I think that's what makes my training so different than everything else out there. Like, I don't teach you like the fundamentals of web design and then leave you to figure out what you need to build the website. I'm like, click by click. You're starting here, and by the last click of this training, you will have a website that you can like actually use to run your business. And so the reason for that was just because I saw so many people just like struggling. Like just like everybody else, you figure out, oh my gosh, there's Facebook groups for entrepreneurs. And so I joined those and I was like, oh my gosh, like everybody is trying to piece together YouTube tutorials, or they just don't know what they don't know. They don't know where to start. They don't know what is important. They don't know what is not important. And so that's why I was like, let's focus on an outcome rather than educating you to do something that you don't even need to know for your business. Like you're a life coach. Once you get it done, you just want to know that you can add your blog posts, switch out your opt-in form, change the words. You do not care about all of the rest of this. You just want it working and you want to like run the business. And so that's kind of just that aha moment of seeing what people were struggling with and realizing like, oh, everybody else is trying to teach them how WordPress works. I want to teach them how to like build a functional website so that they can move on from that and grow the business.
Yes, I love the clarity. I love the simplicity, but I love your abundance mindset also, because you are giving away so much in this free 5-day challenge of yours that I think it's really cool actually to see that. So that's really neat. And so talking about that, the mindset and how did you, when you have moments of confusion, what anchors you? When you have moments of, I don't know what's happening, or your mindset is kind of defeating at some point. So what anchors you at that time?
I can definitely be like a spin out kind of person, spin out and overwhelm. Like I don't know what decision to make, just kind of like ruminating on the same decision over and over again. And I can just distract myself with busy work to avoid that. But that always comes back. That uncertainty and everything, it always comes back. So really what anchors me, and you said, you're non-negotiable every day. Like I journal every single morning. So I will open up, just a page and I'll just be like, just like get it all out. And that usually gives me clarity. Then I can like kind of look back and think, and this is just through coaching and mentoring too, look at that to be like, is that true? Is that just something you're thinking? Is that the only way this could go? What if it did work out? Like I can like get all of that stuff out on paper, and then I can like put my own coach hat on and act as if I'm like talking to one of my students and they came to me with that like information. And then I can kind of like coach myself through a lot of that type of stuff. Not to say that I don't have to do that like every day for a week before I believe myself, but that really anchors me. And then a lot of times just remembering I do have people I can ask for help. Like I do not have to spend a week figuring this out on my own. I can just go into one of the groups that I pay to be a part of and ask my coach. And that's one of the things that always kind of comes a little late for me to remember that like, oh, I don't have to figure this out on my own. Imagine that.
Yeah, I think sometimes we forget that we can ask for help. And I think that's so important to know that there's a lot of tools out there for help.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that. So when did you start the summit, your side hustler to self-employed summit?
Yeah, so this is the first year, and it was really born out of, I talked to so many amazing people on my podcast, Pep Talks for Side Hustlers. We have over 300 episodes. I think about 60 episodes in, I started doing guest episodes. And I was like, you know what? These people, like the best thing would be to get all of them together, because they all do so many amazing things for like I teach web design, but everybody else does something so different that I wanted to get everybody together for a virtual conference. And it's just like a win all the way around, because the speakers get exposed to each other's audiences, which I think is like the best part of it. And I'm your hype girl for the day. Because I've met every single one of them, I can tell the audience like how amazing they are. So it's a win for the speakers. The people who attend get, my favorite people handpicked for teaching them something that like I know and respect the strategies. So, it's not just like I want to take care of my people, and I don't want to introduce them to concepts and things that I don't like believe or think will help them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a win for them knowing that like I've vetted the information, and then it's a win for me because I like grow my list beyond everything. So I think it's the first year I'm doing it, and it's because I spent all last year building the relationships to like get the easiest yeses I've ever gotten when I'm asking someone to do something. So yeah, it's going to be super fun.
I'm looking forward to it, and it's such an honor to be a part of it as well. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, so I have to ask, what are some legal challenges that you faced, or what have you done to prevent them? This is Law Chat, so I'm going to have to talk a little bit about the law.
Fun fact, I started my career marketing in a law firm. So,
how was that?
Well, I don't work there anymore. So, no, I did. Our girls in the marketing department, amazing, some lifelong friends, but definitely not the long-term career path for me. No, but so some of the legal challenges I had at first was like feeling like a contract was something that I would do if I didn't trust someone. So I had this like mindset that like, oh, I don't need a contract with them. I trust them. The only reason I would need a contract is if I thought I would need it in case something went south. Mm-hmm. So I missed a huge opportunity at the beginning of my business to set boundaries, which I realized, contracts help me explain the boundaries of this project and how it's going to go before we even start to my client. So that was a big mindset shift that I had to make about contracts and agreements and things like that. I'd be like, you're not going to sue me. We don't need a contract. It's like, it's not about that. It's about me having the terms of engagement for all how this is going to go up front. And then if you do sue me, then I have this contract.
Yeah.
So that was one of the big mindset shifts I had to make back then. And then as far as, legal challenges, I haven't, knock on wood, I haven't had any legal challenges as much as like just not knowing what I don't know, So there's been all along the way, like thinking, do I really need to do that? I don't know, that type of thing. When is it the right time to do these things in my business? Is it too soon? Should I wait till later? Like, so there's just been a lot of those types of questions that we have, as business owners that have come up all along the way. Mm-hmm. And so just really thinking of it as it's just like tech. You don't know what you don't know. And so instead of avoiding it, like have somebody like you who understands online business, in your corner is huge.
Yeah, I think preventative is so key. And rather than being reactive, you're just being proactive. Mm-hmm. And you're avoiding that. And alongside from even setting up the boundaries and the expectations of a relationship, I think another major key element that a contract provides is also ownership of the intellectual property that's created. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And especially in your business, there's a lot of intellectual property created. And so who owns it? And I think, there's certain ways of conveying that ownership also properly or assigning it properly. And it's usually done through a written instrument. So yeah, contracts are very important. And I'm so glad actually that, I always ask like my guests, so what are some legal challenges you've had or, things like that. And I love that you are so preventative in what you have been doing, where it's kind of like, I don't know it, but it's okay. I need to figure it out rather than being scared and fearful of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't want to be in a situation where I just, kind of stepped in the hole that I didn't see coming.
Right. Yeah, that would be terrible. So so far so good. We're good.
Right.
So, couple last questions. So, how are you disrupting your industry? How are you standing out?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I think in a couple ways, I think like giving everything away for free and not everything. Like I still get compensated, but like giving my best stuff away for free. I
Right.
don't know that that's like disrupting the industry, but I think it's something that a lot of people get scared of. And, like I give away my whole free 5-day website challenge training for free. And, there are so many people that go through that use my affiliate links and I make really good money from that. There are just as many people that go through it and don't. But those people are just as valuable to me as the ones that do because they're the ones telling everybody else about my training. So
Mhm.
it's just like every single person that comes through has value, whether they spend money with me or not. And that makes it super easy for me to give that level of information away for free. It's not my time I'm giving away for free. It's
Mhm.
information and, there is a payoff for me on the back end because I'm telling everybody like I earn a commission when you buy this stuff. So
Mhm.
thank you in advance for using my stuff. So I think that's one way that I'm disrupting the industry is not like withholding part of it and like, oh, if you want the rest, you have to pay me. Like, no,
Right.
like it's all here. That builds a lot of trust so that when I make the next offer for the next thing that they might want that is paid, they're like, well, it's a no brainer to work with her. If her free stuff is this good, her paid
Mhm.
stuff's going to be amazing. And so it makes it really easy for me to take that next step. And then I think with web designers, just I am like on a mission for web designers to stop thinking of themselves as like service providers and hourly, pixel pushers and really think of them as like consultative partners who, deserve to be well compensated and who are in control of projects and that they're not just like a lowly tech assistant that can be paid minimal,
Mhm.
to support a business.
Mhm.
So I am on a mission to like disrupt the industry of freelance web design, really,
Mhm.
and help them get understand what their value is so that they confidently charge what they're worth. And, you know, that's like absolutely a mission of mine because I struggled so much with it in the beginning and I
Mhm.
figured it out and I'm like, everybody who wants this needs to have this. So, yeah,
Yeah,
those
I
two
love
ways.
pixel pushers.
Yes.
So
That's
funny.
what I was. I was like, you want me to do what? Okay, let me spend
I
5
love
hours figuring
that.
it out and under our original contract. Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I feel you. I feel you. So, if you were to give your three best business tips, what would that be?
Put yourself out there before you think you're ready. There's like no such thing as perfection. So I think that's one of those things is like don't wait till everything is perfect to do the thing. And putting yourself out there or marketing is nothing more than just saying, here's how I can help you solve this problem that you have.
Mhm.
People get so wrapped up in like, oh, I have to put myself out there as the expert. And they don't feel like an expert. They feel that makes them feel like an imposter. So they don't do anything. And then they hide behind, waiting till their website's perfect or their Instagram looks perfect or they have 15 blog posts or whatever it is. And, it's like, no, all you have to do is let people know how you can help them solve their problems. That's it. That's not,
I love that.
they don't care about you and like your bio and all of that stuff. They just want to know that you can help them solve the problem. And then I think my third best business tip would just be like, don't go it alone. You do not have to blaze your own trail. There are other people out there who have done it before. You know, follow them, build relationships. It's more fun and it's easier that way.
I love that. I actually love that the question of how just letting people know how you can help solve their problems, and that really eliminates sometimes that imposter syndrome. You're right, because perfection can be literally the beginning of our demise. So
Yes. Yes.
that's so key. I just love that. Well, I have had so much fun talking to you, but before we say bye, I just going to ask you quick fun facts. Some fun facts. So, tea or coffee?
Coffee. all the way. Black.
I'm all about all of it though.
Yeah, I will drink any of it, but like, the darker the better.
Your favorite book, whether it's personal, business, personal growth?
Oh, so Ash Amberger wrote The Middle Finger Project last year. I loved that book. It was very like empowering for entrepreneurs who, really just want to go for it, So I loved that. And then right now I'm reading David Chang's Eat a Peach. He's a restaurant owner and he has like shows like Ugly Delicious and stuff like that, all about his entrepreneurial journey. So that's really good too. I'm about halfway through that. Yeah.
I'm going to have to put them on my reading list for 2021.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then what is some of your favorite biz tools? Apps or resources?
Obviously WordPress. I use ConvertKit. Airtable right now I am in love with. It's like a database tool, but that's just because like I'm a tech nerd. It automates a lot of processes. ConvertKit is my preferred email software. Yeah, so just all of those little techie tools. Deadline
nice.
Funnel is a good one. I use that quite often for like timed offers and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to look into this Airtable and see what it's all about.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
I love tech stuff. So this has been such a pleasure talking to you. I have personally been enriched through this conversation today, and I am excited to kind of go hang out on your website also and check out some things. I think it's actually, I'm going to make it a personal project with my daughter, is this WordPress 5-day challenge.
Do it.
She's 9 years old, but she is like all about tech, and I just want to encourage it and really cultivate her, love for it, because there's so few women in tech. Yeah, so few women in tech, and I think it's time. So I'm excited for that. But for others, how can they hang out with you? Where can they connect with you? Where can they sign up for your challenges as well?
All the things can be found at shannonmattern.com, and you guys can connect with me on Instagram at shannonlmattern, at shannonlmattern.
Wonderful. I'm going to put all those links in the show notes. And it was just so brilliant to have you on the show today. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining Law Chat with Girja. I love these kind of stories and conversations where we can be real, honest, and open, and having fun at the same time. I hope you are inspired and motivated to keep doing the amazing work you are doing. If this is something that gave you all those feels and then some, truly motivated and inspired for you, you can show your love in all or one of these ways. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and share this video with your community and tell them about it, or share with somebody that can benefit from it. I look forward to seeing you next time on another episode of Law Chat, and until then, keep moving forward. Bye.